Hi everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Growth Tarot. I'm Denise and this reading is for our Wednesday, October 14th. So 3 cards for the day in order to help us spiritually grow, which means coming back home to your true self. Okay, so we have the 9 of Wands, the 10 of Swords, and the 7 of Pentacles. Well, those cards definitely make sense to me. Now, whether or not this is anything to do with the day, this looks to me like it's one of those little spiritual lessons where if you're in a relationship or in any situation in your life where you feel like you're being beat up and you're having to battle through something, then it's time to walk away. Because to continue further on will not be a good investment, of your time, resources, energy, love, care, whatever that is. Now, in the best sense, like let's say we just had the 9 of Wands with a couple other really good cards, then the message would change into something like hang in there, persevere, don't give up, you've come so far. And and then whatever the other cards would add further on to, why to keep going. But the way these cards have lined up, it's don't keep going, because if you do, then at some point, you get into that reversal type of territory where it's like, oh goodness, like paranoia and just having a really hard time with it, and it could even create, health issues. So when it's straight up, it has to do with having the courage to walk away from what doesn't work. With the 10 of Swords, this is about, an ending, and it's done. Whatever it is, it's done. If it's arguments, if it's betrayal, if it's something that, well, it has to be, with the 10 of Swords, we're in some painful type of territory. So anything that's causing you pain, it's time to muster up the courage to move on. And you you have to. This isn't, if the 8 of Cups were here, then I would say, be careful about walking away from any self-responsibility, but, our true responsibility is to ourselves. And when we're in relationships, whoever is the most spiritually evolved is actually the one who truly has the most responsibility in the relationship. So there's that. That's a real consideration. But back to the 9 of Wands, in the best sense, it's about, having a test of faith and being very resilient and just, like I said, hanging in there. But this combo with the 10 of Swords, it really puts us in that territory of defeat and even maybe a crisis, but there's some type of a loss. So I think something that you've worked really hard for, something that you've tried to make work with all your muster and all your might, is at a point of it's not gonna work. You have to let it go. Otherwise, you end up stabbing yourself in the back. I mean, in the traditional Rider-Waite, it's a very painful looking card. I'm in the Light Seers Tarot here. Chrisanne Donnelly, the artist, she has changed up the she's changed up the image, and she's focused more on like the sunlight coming up from beyond. And she actually put movement into the card. In the traditional, well, let me see if I can quickly find it. Oh, I don't know if I can. You guys, I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know the card I'm talking about. Let's see. Oh, 78. Maybe there it is. It's at the bottom, of course. Murphy's Law sometimes, right? So traditionally, this is the image of the card. And you can see the backstabbing. You can see the betrayal. but you can also see the sunlight coming up beyond. But there's no movement. This guy's down for the count, I mean, it's over. And she changed it up to give us more power, I think, to give us because if you go after this card, sometimes it can literally mean a death, but not usually, almost not ever. But it's definitely a painful end. So she brought movement into the card, which gives us the feeling of, okay, well, this is what you did after you got up and walked away, and you're moving on to a brighter future. So just to not be defensive around, if you stay in this place and you don't move on, you can get into that very defended position of needing to be right, needing to have the last word, needing to win. And if you keep going, it's either going to reverse and you're going to feel paranoid and beat up, or you're going to get into the Ten of Wands position where it's just too much of a burden to carry on your own. So because the Ten of Swords is here, I think it's it's a little bit of a harbinger of just walk away, let it go, let it go. And adding the Seven of Pentacles reversed upon that, of course, when the seven is straight up, we're in a place of, looking at our investments, reevaluating, wondering if we have enough to make it, to keep going, right? You're doing your best. When it's reversed, there's something that there's either like some limited return on your investment, and that's the reason for walking away, because the center card for me is always the theme. When you don't have if you're not doing a spread where each card means something like past, present, future, and I haven't assigned it that way. I've assigned it as just 3 cards for the day, but the middle card is being the theme. Well, the theme is that if you don't walk away, then what happens is there's not going to be any success. You're going to be frustrated. In fact, there's going to be, more fear of loss that comes in, and more of, fearing like the fear of not having enough, the fear of lack, all of that. So it's one of those, let me grab this other deck. It's one of those situations where cut your losses, whatever it is, cut your losses. So this may or may not be true at all for this day, but I think this is one of those lessons in that if you're feeling beat up, if you're feeling like you can't hang in there and you can't muster any more courage, trust your feelings, trust your, the life force that's coming through you to give you the guidance. And in those situations, just move on, because to hang in there just because you want to be right, or you want to, or you have that mindset of like, I never give up, never give up. Don't give up on anyone. Well, this is the admonition here, is that it's not going to work. If it's coming from a place. So I guess it's just, checking yourself. Do you really have to win? Do you really have to be right? This reminds me of a couple of breakups I had where, they were clearly the one that did me wrong, right? And created this betrayal. And of course I had to walk away. But I could feel this little part in me that wanted to just rip him a new one and tell him all the things he had done wrong, right? Like betrayal, cheating on me wasn't enough. I had to go back and back and back and tell him all the other things that were wrong that I had held within. This is years and years ago. I would never do that again. But then, I had relationships afterwards where I just had to be really honest and be, present and say, this isn't working for me, or this doesn't work for me. And, you grow. But back in the day, I could feel that place where I needed to be right and have the last word. And when I let it go, like when I realized that that's what was going on and I let it go, then he stopped bugging me, and he stopped coming around all the time, and he started honoring my healthy boundary to, basically back off and stay away. So then, in those situations, then what happens is you can get back to what it was you're trying to nurture and what it was you're trying to grow, and you have even more courage. So walking away from what doesn't work is the lesson there. So with this deck, the Spirit Animal Oracle by Colette Baron Reed, what do we need to know? What else? What helps? What helps? Oh, yeah. Of course. Okay, with Buffalo Spirit, the message there has to do with, it says, the abundant universe will provide. So when we're in those places where we have to walk away from something that didn't work, you know that right around the corner something is much better coming in. Something much better will come in. And Sandpiper Spirit says to be playful. So playing to me is also getting into the imaginary realms where you imagine the brand new future that you want, the brand new creation, because we are creators deep down. That's who we are. So we can co-create just about anything we want, within reason. So of course we can have happy, healthy relationships on all levels of all kinds. And the relationships will always mirror whatever's going on within us. And they give us chances over and over again to empower ourselves and to speak up when we need to, or move on when we need to. Basically, is what we had with the tarot cards there. So that's it. I think that's the little mini lesson for today. Okay, thanks you guys. Take good care as always.